Joining us today is Dilip Sawhney, the Managing Director, Rockwell Automation India. He has spent over 25 years at the intersection of industrial automation and healthcare tech, starting his career with Larsen & Toubro, moving through GE, and now leading Rockwell Automation's India business for over a decade. He's also the current chairman of CII's Smart Manufacturing Council and a past president of the Automation Industry Association. Today, we're talking about a question that sits at the heart of every India's GCC story. As GCCs move from executing engineering tasks to owning products and platforms, is that shift actually happening in industrial automation, or is it mostly aspirational? Dilip, firstly, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Savi. Glad to be with you and glad to be talking about something which is so core and central and something that is going to define the role that India is going to play for global enterprises. So delighted to be here today.
Dilip, before getting into the more serious conversation, I want to start off with why do you think talking about this topic specifically is important today? Where is India standing today, and how do you see the future of Indian GCCs?
Yeah, so I think I like the term GCC because it signifies a shift that is happening from what used to be known, and India's been doing that for a number of years, Savi, which is the back-end work, right? From there to signifying work which underscores the key operating word here, which is capability or competency, right? Whichever way you want to describe GCCs, right? I think just the term itself signifies that you are not only building scale, but you're going beyond that. You're building competencies, you're building capability, right? For the use of that particular organization's global scale. Right. So I think therein lies the key role which India is already playing, but in the coming years will play at an even greater scale, and we can delve into details of it. Why I believe so. In terms of enabling these organizations to do what is uniquely possible in India.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Dilip, you've spent over 3 decades in industrial automation now, a sector where India's GCCs, they've historically done engineering support work and not core R&D. Now, what's the clearest evidence that you have seen that this is actually changing? Was it a specific product? Was it a platform? Was it a patent that originated from the Indian GCCs? What are your views on that?
It's something which is very close to my heart, Savi. I have to give you, there are many examples. I'll give you a Rockwell example. So amongst the many GCCs that we have here in India, Rockwell, incidentally, we've been in the country for over 4 decades, 42, 43 years, thereabouts now. And for close to 2 decades, we've had what used to be previously known as global engineering centers, and we had COEs, etc. These capabilities are what we today would call as GCCs. One of these GCCs is what we call as our Bangalore Design Center, the BDC. Bangalore Design Center is in Bangalore. It's something which has been there for between 15, 17 years, let's say. And it started off with something which was managing chunks of engineering work for our core product platforms. Has been doing that for a number of years. And so the talent that we had there were people who were PhDs, double PhDs, people who were engaged with, some of the core design work related to our platforms, which were being developed and would get commercialized 5 years from, when the work was going on here. All of that was going on many years ago. To the specific question you asked me, the example I want to cite is from handling chunks of work, Sabi, to where we are right now, where one of our we are an automation company, and amongst the many things that we do as an automation company, we have what we call as I/O platforms, input and outputs. These are things that connect real world to the control systems that we build, right? So I/O is a very robust technology. When we were working on what we call as our on-machine I/Os, meaning I/Os that literally sit on the machine, we created the next-gen on-machine configurable I/O products, concept to design to full commercialization, all delivered from the BDC. Right? And this was not now, we put it out. I think we made the first announcement in public about, I think it was 2023. So, and it was not a surprise for me. It was just a continuation of a very high quality work which the BDC teams had been putting out for a long period of time, and it has pretty much become now the default location where that entire technology is being further scaled. So that's one example that I want to cite, and there are similar examples, that we have. There are other COEs or GCCs that we have, which are on the software side. When we talk about the example that I gave you for the Bangalore Design Center, this was stuff which was being developed that goes inside our core product platforms. Different from that is when we do engineering, which goes in as a part of the projects or programs that we deliver for our customers or our clients, such as in the automotive industry or the life sciences, pharmaceutical industry, or packaged goods, etc. So I'll give you the example of another GCC that we have in Pune. Now, this GCC is focused on life sciences, pharmaceutical industry. And what we do over there is we build these trusted content, like these, call it highly configurable software templates that go on top of our standard software platforms, which make it very easy for that industry to deploy these solutions, very rapidly and with a lot of confidence, because these are highly regulated industries. So you need to have a lot greater domain competence around those industries that you serve, right? So and that work also has been going on for a number of years now, and we do it at global scale. So there's one location for that, and that is here in India in Pune. So yeah, these are a couple of examples from within Rockwell that I'm able to cite to you, and these are from two totally different ends of the spectrum. One being very hardware centric, very focused on our product platforms. The other one, which is literally at the intersection of services that we deliver for our client industries. I gave you the example of life sciences.
Well, wonderful to know
Yeah.
what Rockwell is doing in this space.
Yeah.
Well, Dilip, going back to what you said earlier when we spoke about GCCs, you said capability part of the word is the most interesting to you, and that is what will accelerate the Indian GCC story. Now, on the other hand, I want to ask you, what is the single biggest capability gap that you see that could really stall that shift in the future? Because the growth projections, as we see for GCCs, are somewhere around 470 to $600 billion by 2030. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, my own experience, and others might differ. The subtle shift that I've seen happen in Rockwell's own experience and our own journey with GCCs here is when you shift from just utilizing, India to serve a very narrow sort of call it a task or a transaction-oriented approach, or to use India just because technology enables you to get some work done from a remote setting, right? To actually leveraging the full scale of capabilities that are available both at scale and with a lot of depth in India, which is shifting the so to say the center of gravity of that function closer to India. That allows you to much more credibly exploit the capabilities that India has to offer, in a very unique sense, right? Which is where, so in the first scenario, which is work which has been going on for a long period of time, you're utilizing, of course, there's the cost arbitrage angle, there is the ability to get things done which have to be done at scale, which is increasingly becoming passe, to really using India for your ability to put together cross-functional teams. Again, I'm going to cite a Rockwell example. we found that in many of our GCCs, for us to be able to put together cross-functional teams that have people who've got um, mechanical engineering, ACAD libraries, ASIC design, right? People who have capabilities around, uh, the electrical and also signal integrity, such kinds of complex domains to be able to put together a cross-functional team and to be able to scale it up. One of the unique places that we have been able to do it time and time again is here in India, right? And what it means is for you to be able to get much more meaningful, larger, package of work being taken on and responsibly delivered, and then increasingly being owned up in India, right?
Mm.
That's a possibility, and I don't know how many places there are in the world where you can say that. Uh, Domain after domain after domain. What I'm describing, coming from an industrial automation company, you could easily be talking to someone from, say, a life sciences pharmaceutical company, a lot of CDMOs, that I hear about, right? Which are able to, scale up teams that require, PhD chemists and people from different domains coming together and doing work which, for you to be able to assemble such kinds of teams, would take a enormously, greater amount of effort in some
Right.
other parts of the world, right? So when I say that moving from just managing work or leveraging technology to building deep domain expertise and capability, and eventually owning up, that part of the business, or that function in a very responsible manner. We've seen that happen here in India, and that's given us a lot of business advantage.
Right. But does that domain expertise also help in running a global business unit? For instance, the capability, the talent that you're building here,
Yeah.
they're very specific to a domain, as you said, and they are building their expertise in that specific domain. Now, do you think this will help in building leaders who can handle a global business unit, or does it produce mostly technical and process talent that tops out at a certain level?
Savi, the right way to answer that question, and pardon me for being a little bit philosophical here, but you get in business, you get what you measure, right?
Hmm.
And if you're measuring people on KPIs, which is to do with, you know turnaround times and efficiencies and utilization rates and all of that, you'll get a lot of operational expertise. On the other hand, if your thesis is that you would want to scale, a global sort of business or a functional platform here, I'm pretty certain that you'll be able to get it done here, as has been our experience. I gave you
Mhm.
the example of the work which we are doing for our GCCs for, say, the auto tire and battery industries, or the life sciences pharmaceutical industries from here in India, or for that matter, increasingly for our uh, you know uh, digital transformation professional services. All of that work is being very responsibly owned up and delivered from here, because that's what we started off by expecting, right?
Hmm.
And we put the measurements around that, right? So again, for us, we had the advantage of being around for a long period of time, and we had the opportunity to grow in an organic manner in that area. Having been around for 40 years, does give you that business advantage. And some of the other GCCs are just getting started. But I would urge everyone to really be thinking about it. You get what you measure for. What are the KPIs that you set? If your
Right.
KPIs are around a business ownership and aggressively scaling up those capabilities, I'm quite certain that you'll get there.
Wonderful. Well, you've also been the past president of AIA, and you've watched the automation industry grow and evolve over the years. You've also worked in healthcare tech and now in industrial automation. The R&D cycles, the risk tolerance of different industries is very different, and the models are also very different. Now, what's a
Yeah.
mistake that Indian GCCs are currently repeating that the broader automation and manufacturing industry have already learned the harder way?
What the manufacturing industry has clearly learned,
Hmm.
because I see it as Rockwell Automation. We work very closely with manufacturers here in India, around the globe, right? And one realization, Savi, that has set in is is not just deploying technology for the sake of deploying technology, not because someone has put this shiny new object out there on their shop floor, or a tab that allows them to have good visibility. No, deploying technology for the sake of having technology does not get you where you want to get to in terms of better operational outcomes. You've got to
Hmm.
be really outcome oriented, right? Technology in that sense becomes means to an end, right?
Right.
So you got to be really thinking about, as manufacturers, you got to be thinking about what gives you a higher level of availability, better asset utilization, greater resilience in these times that we're living in, much better cybersecurity posture, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many different business outcomes which good, thoughtful application of digital approaches or industrial AI will enable you for. But
Hmm.
just blindly deploying tech will not get you there. I'll extend the same argument back to because the GCC's journey is picking up pace now as we're speaking. The one lesson that the that the GCC story can probably learn from manufacturing really is being very outcome oriented, right? You should be when you're thinking about deploying a GCC, you should think in terms of what role can GCCs play in helping you deal with the business challenges that
Hmm.
you as a global enterprise may be experiencing, and then try and solve. When I look at India as a country platform, can India help me, mitigate that business challenge or gain that competitive advantage by being here, as opposed to just building a GCC because it's good to have a GCC in India.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, lastly, Dilip, what will really make the GCC story a success story in India? And for Rockwell Automation specifically, what do you have in plan for, let's say, the next 5 years?
Well, like I said, I'll take the second question first.
Hmm.
As Rockwell, we've been around for 40 years. We've reached somewhere, but the opportunity in India is so immense that we feel we're just getting started, right? We're so excited about what the future holds. We are seeing just in the last less than half a decade or so, brand new industries taking shape, new industries literally being born, right? And we feel that we have a very good, very great opportunity to participate in the creation and the scale up of these industries, right? And of course, helping Indian manufacturers go global and attain that global scale, right? India just must integrate itself into the global value chains. That's how the Indian MSMEs will also scale up, right? But that would require them to be much more deeply aware of global standards and deploy traceability across their own manufacturing and value chains, et cetera, et cetera. We feel we have a very important role to play in that as trusted partners for the industry at large, right? So that's what my colleagues and I are very acutely focused on, every day of the week. Um, I think if India really has to live up to your first question, if India really has to live up to the potential it has to offer, we are already home to easily more than half the GCCs that are there in the world, right? Some number like that, right? And we will increasingly contribute to much more greater value add in terms of what GCCs will produce. But if we have to really live up to that potential, we just must be thinking of not just bringing work for the sake of bringing work, but we
Hmm.
just must be very, very thoughtful about how do we deliver much greater value to these global enterprises, which I think India is very uniquely positioned to do, right? Not only because we have, talent at scale, but we have talent that has a lot of awareness, a lot of expertise of having worked in these industries. We spoke about life sciences, pharmaceuticals. Where else will you find so many people? India itself is a major global pharma player, right? We have pharmacy to the world, etc. And you can extend the same argument to discrete industries or consumer-focused industries or industries that are much more mineral-focused or so forth, etc. We have to really think in terms of how can we enable these global enterprises to take on their big business challenges and approach mitigating those challenges in a fresh new way through the use of tech and digital and AI and all of that stuff, help them reimagine their business processes in a very new manner, which is very contemporary and very 2026, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. Well, any last piece of advice for young GCC leaders and any pitch to young professionals, students, that why they should choose a GCC over working in a headquarter or in a separate office?
Well, what I say to my own colleagues over here, we try and do a couple of things, Savi. One is we very aggressively try to mix talent, right? We have zigzag talent movements from people who are working in our domestic functions versus people who are working in the global functions. If you carefully chart your career path, you can get the best of both worlds. You'll get to do global roles sitting right here in India, but if you have to be successful in those global roles, you need to get client-facing experience, right? And I'll say that to the GCC leaders out there. In India, you'll have the advantage of hiring talent. That represents. You can extend that to that previous argument of mine to a much larger scale. It's easy for you to tap into talent pools, people who represent domain expertise for your client industries, as well as people who have expertise of working in large global functions, and you need a happy mix of both. To young talent coming in, this is a great time to be here because increasingly you'll have an opportunity to work on genuine global roles while being here, right here in India, right? And it's already happening, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be happening at a much greater scale over the next couple of years and beyond.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Dilip. And what a wonderful and candid conversation. Thank you so much for your time and hope to stay connected for more such conversations.
Sure. Thank you so much, Savi. And I'm so glad that you're spotlighting this topic because it's so relevant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.